Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are back in the Iowa, baby. And I've got a little bit of a double feature for you guys. So, yeah, I don't know. I've thought about voicing some of my frustrations, but it seems like people don't want to hear frustration. They understand, but they don't want to hear it. So, we're just going to do this as like a regular video. So, first match, we're going to be on North. Not my favorite match in the world, but we're spawning mid. It is a legendary match, so we got to be careful. We know that there's likely to be a Yami spawn directly across from me, because that's the way this game seems to always work, is that whatever counters me the best spawns directly across from me. Every time. Now, we get an Ochakov right here, and in the first shot, I am just salivating. I'm like, this guy's not up to speed yet, so we can take a little bit of a shot over the island, get a decent salvo. It looks okay, nothing too crazy though, and it just doesn't quite hit the way I'd hoped. We get 1,441 damage with an overpin. Now I'm starting to look at the other places, just basically trying to check off the list. Now, we see the Ochi out here, we see the Yami, and this Ochi is going to make a huge mistake. Huge. All the mistake. And that huge mistake is getting closer. You do not want to close the distance to me in my Iowa in a cruiser. Then he decides to turn out, and RNG, for once, decides that it doesn't want to completely screw me over. So wait for it. Pow! Dropping the bomb from downtown. And getting a dev strike to start the match. Sorry, I had to itch my nose. Now, we triggered a damage con, and that's when the torpedoes arrive. Now, luckily for us, I don't run the damage con that takes away from our, what do you call it? Immunity after the fact. Everybody always, I get a lot of people ask me why I run the one perk that instead of the other. I run Reaching Out XXL rather than running the damage control perk, because the damage control perk reduces your damage control time by 70%, I think. And that is just unacceptable, because 9 times out of 10, right after you trigger a damage con, you're going to get hit with an HE salvo or a torpedo, and you're going to immediately regret life choices. Now, here, just before we get loaded, Kaba gets into a smoke. He's beached. We're going to turn in and just bow tank him. We should be able to disappear here. Nobody's spotting us. And so, Kaba should be relatively struggling to do anything to us. Now, we're going to, obviously, we're anticipating torpedoes. And unfortunately, one of them catches us right on the bow. And of course it causes a flood, because every torpedo does, right? And then he gets a fire, and I'm still not detected. Like, the man hits me with a fire and a flood on back-to-back hits. And we've still got 5 seconds before we get our damage con back, unfortunately. So we're going to burn and flood for a little bit. But we get that fixed, and that's about the time that he decides he wants to pop out of his smoke screen. And this is going to end poorly for him. He's going to pop out. We've got a beautiful look. 5.8 kilometers. We take the shot. We hit this man with 2 shells. At 6 kilometers. Just 2 shells. And, you know, 2,700-pound projectiles, and of course he gets a fire the first time he touches us, right? Right? Because fire chance works like that, right? Every time that somebody shoots you, they get a fire, regardless of what their percentage is. So, like, the Kaba's fire chance is what, like 8%? And he got a fire on me twice right there, but on back-to-back salvos. Gotta love it. Now, Yami, on the other hand, is going to catch himself broadside to an Iowa, and that dispersion is gorgeous, hitting him for over 50,000 damage right there. That was 5 citadels. That was 43,000 damage plus 14 plus 14. So that's over 60,000 damage. So 14 and 14 is 28, and then 43, so that's over 70 actually. We touched a man, let's just say that. We touched that man. And that's not the only Yami that's going to be on the receiving end of an absolute peddling today. We've got another one in the other video. But Shima comes out, Absolutely begging for it. Once again, we're using the islands as cover, trying to protect ourselves from the destroyers that we know are trying to kill us, because there isn't anything that any other destroyers like to do than to try to kill Spartan. It's a thing. It just is. So he works his way up. Beautiful railgun dispersion. Absolutely smashed that man for 7,200 damage. But again, it's 5 overpins and only 7,200 damage with 5 2,700-pound projectiles that just rip through that man's ship. Like, to put this into perspective, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Iowa class. The Iowa class, one turret. One turret. You take the guns out of that turret. Okay? Just take the guns out. That turret weighs as much as a Fletcher class destroyer. Just put that into perspective. No guns, just the turret and the barbette weigh as much as a Fletcher class destroyer. We just hit that man with 6 shells that weigh 2,700 pounds each. That is literally shooting Volkswagens at somebody. I mean, that's almost shooting a Subaru at somebody. My Subaru WRX weighs like 3,100, 3,200 pounds. So that's almost shooting a Subaru wagon at a freaking ship. 6 of them, going over the speed of sound. Now here I decide to shoot at the Suja here. He's not moving. He's most likely AFK. He's just sitting there in the open water, begging to die. Kappa starts to come around the corner, so I think about having to shoot him, but fortunately for me, Georgia's got my back. He manages to hit the Kappa, finish him off. So we get a shot over here at the Suja. And I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting, with the RNG that I've had up to this point being relatively decent, I was expecting a kill. And of course, not to be had. RNG giveth, and RNG taketh away. So, I can't really complain about the RNG that I had in this, other than just the ridiculous amount of fires that everybody seemed to get on me. With every shot that they took, they got a fire. But Iowa broadside on. The Georgia's going to hit him before I do, and he's dead here. Like, there's nothing he can do. We get a Citadel to finish him off for 8,200. And then the Suja is not long for this world because he's not even playing. So he's going to die shortly. But again, it's one of those things. Like, I love playing battleships. I really do. I enjoy playing the battleships. But the problem is, the game is so against battleships for no reason. I don't know why. The developers have made this game so against battleships. But again, top of the leaderboard, 2,500 base. All of the medals. We had, what, 4 or 5 different medals. We got all the things. Now we're going to be on Greece. We're going to be doing the same thing, essentially. Where we're going to take a central position, roughly. We're going to do our best to stay safe from torpedoes and fires, and do our best to annihilate anybody that gets in our way. But the problem is, like, it's so frustrating. I love the game, but it's so frustrating when 9 out of 10 matches that you get have a minimum of 8 destroyers. Like, this is one of the few matches that we don't have, like, 4 destroyers per side.
Battle starts.
I don't know what people want. Like, they have to limit the destroyers per match. Have to. If they're not going to do enough to make the destroyers not be completely broken. Like, they did do a concealment nerf, but their concealment nerf was all of like 0.2 kilometers for concealment build destroyers. So it's not exactly adequate. They're still just as broken today as they were then. But anyway, if they're not going to be able to nerf the destroyers themselves and make them less powerful, they've got to nerf how many of them are in a match. Have to. And then, of course, on the other side of that, when it's not destroyers that you're worried about all the time, then it's cruisers. Cruisers are just burning you down from everywhere. You can't hide. You can park your battleship right on an island, and a destroyer or a cruiser, both of them, can lob that island and keep setting you on fire. You're parked directly next to the island, and yet they can lob it because the rounds are coming from space. They're coming straight down on top of your ship, and they're able to continue to set you on fire. There's no safe place from HE spam and torpedoes. It just isn't. Every torpedo is basically a Citadel hit. I mean, every one of them's doing 15 grand or more and causing floods. They have concealment that is almost completely like, you can't do anything about it. Like, their concealment is so good that you can't even see them in a battleship. And the problem is, you're getting into a lot of matches where you're getting in 5 destroyers and 4 battleships versus 5 destroyers and 4 battleships, no cruiser counters. Okay? And then when you don't get 5 destroyers, then you're ending up with 5 HE spammers, and you're still screwed in a battleship. This Cleveland makes a huge mistake, goes broadside to us, should be removed from the game. Let's be real. That should have been multiple citadels. It should have been a dev strike. The guy's broadside turning in at that range. We had railgun dispersion, and we only get 1 citadel out of the 6 shells that hit him. So again, it's frustrating to play battleships, and I get to the point where I'm like, I don't know why anybody wants to play battleships anymore. And clearly people are turning away from playing the game altogether. Like, I've got a few people that I've talked to recently that just say they've stopped playing the game altogether. They don't want to play it anymore. And that is something that we cannot have. We're only 2.5 years into this game's life, right? If you're already driving players away with the balance of the game being the way it is, you've got to make some moves, because if you continue on the course, it's not good for your player base at all. Legends doesn't have the largest player base anyway, and so losing players because of balance issues where you're just getting overrun every freaking match with HE spam and destroyers, it's just not fun. And when there are other games for people to play, then they're going to go to those other games that are potentially more fun. And so, as somebody who loves the game and who actually makes a living playing the game, I really, really want the game to do well. I want it to continue to do well. For obvious reasons, right? My literal livelihood depends on it. So, when I say these things, I'm not trying to be negative Nancy. I'm not trying to be just a downright downer, or Debbie Downer, whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to bring awareness to the developers that, you know, there's a lot of issues, and you know that the issues exist. Yeah, and we've got to start doing something to try to bring some of the fun back to playing battleships, because if you don't, you're going to lose a lot more people. Now, here we get the worst dispersion on the planet, but at least 2 of them were heading towards the ship, so we get the final kill on the guy. So that's a good thing. And we're gonna continue to hold our corner here, because we know the destroyer's right here, and there's some more torpedoes heading this direction. I don't know if they were launched at me in particular, but we're spotting them, giving them enough time out there in the open to dodge them. We know they're from the Tashkent, because there's only 1 destroyer in this match, which is a freaking miracle. It's very rare to get into these matches, and I love when I do. I try to make the most out of every time we get into a match where we only have 1 destroyer. Or, God forbid, there not be a single destroyer in a match. Those are very, very rare games. But, yeah, we're looking for a chance to potentially ruin this Vladdy. Can't really see him. We know he's mostly coming in at an angle to us currently because of the map. We're also paying attention to the Yami that's to our right. He's in the cap, and he's starting to think about pushing up. You can see him starting to, like, edge his way towards the center of the cap. Now we take a look at the Yami at distance, and we don't quite have a shot. The mountain we're too close to the island to lob this island, and then of course the taller mountain we're not able to lob either. So that's unfortunate. Tashkent does come out, broadside on. He's going to turn away from us, and this is another one of those opportunities where, as a battleship captain, you shoot at the destroyer, right? You're doing what you're supposed to do. The destroyer spotted, you take the shot, he starts to turn out. We hit this man with 4 rounds, and we do 5,000 damage to him. Like, really? Come on. And this is part of the helplessness of being a battleship captain. You do everything that you're supposed to do. You try to do everything right, and the destroyers get every bonus and thing that they can possibly have. They've got concealment. Dude just disappears whenever the heck he wants. He drops torpedoes that pop up at the last possible second, and like you can't do anything. You're forced to sit, and that makes you an even bigger target for HE spam and destroyers. But if you continue to leave yourself in a position where you're not getting annihilated by these guys, and you're able to continue to put pressure, on shooting at people who are making mistakes. And look at that dispersion. Like, really, game? Yay, 1,300 more damage. Woo! Really showing that destroyer who's boss, am I right? And then the Yami does what I expected him to do a little while ago. The Yami starts to push. Now, we're spotted by his plane currently. The Tashkent has gone behind the island. We've got our guns in the right position. We're ready for it. He comes around the corner. We're going to aim a little bit higher than the waterline, just a smidge, and that is absolutely devastating. 4 more citadels on the broadside of a Yami, 5 penetrations, and the death strike. You gotta love it. And that puts us up to 112,000 damage real quick. Now, with that threat gone, and the threat of him flanking behind us being an issue, we're going to start to push forward, try to get this Vladdy to do something stupid, and try to get a shot on this Vladdy. Now, currently he's angled to us. It's not the best shot in the world. We do have the Tashkent still right in the area. We can't sleep on him. We know he's here. Vladdy's still using that island as cover pretty much. And it's becoming a war of attrition. We've got a cruiser heading into the cap over there. That's going to give us a cap advantage. We already have the points lead because we've killed more of them than they've killed of us. So that's huge. Having that points lead is amazing. We've only killed 3 of them. I've killed 2. So, you know, sometimes it's just about being in the right place at the right time to take advantage of crossfires in a battleship. And surviving long enough for it to be a thing. Now, Hipper has decided to come back, so we're going to go ahead and reach out and touch this man. And unfortunately, the moment we fire at him, he started turning in. I'm going to say that he's probably got the perk that showcases that somebody's looking at you, or how many people is looking at you or targeting you. Because as soon as I looked at him, he turned. Now, Tashkent has wandered inside my guaranteed detectability. He's not detecting me, but I'm detecting him because I have the target acquisition mod on. So we're going to take another shot at the Hipper here. He's heading towards us. He's only 15 kilometers out. The dispersion isn't the worst, but unfortunately the tight grouping lands behind him. And we only get 1 penetration. I don't think we even got any damage out of that penetration. But Vladdy is about to come around the corner. Unfortunately, we're not loaded to take advantage of him immediately coming around the corner. The Yami finishes off the Prinz Eugen that was capturing the base over there. Vladdy comes out, but you can see he's already turning away. So this is not likely to be a citadel, but I was really, really hoping it was. And he gets just a nasty salvo against us, just destroying our superstructure with penetration. Just absolutely raking us. And that's the downside of American and German battleships. American and German battleships, they get ridiculous amounts of HP allocated to their superstructure, and you get ships like the Vladivostok that basically gets no hit points allocated to its superstructure. And they're able to hit you for 15 to 20k even while you're bow tanking, which is really frustrating. But at this point, we know that the destroyer's gone. We know that they still have the fire spamming Hipper out there, and we know that this Vladdy is just looking for an opportunity to smash us. We're not going to give him that opportunity. We're going to stay angled to him as best we can. We're going to take some shots while he's angled away. We're going to try to hit that superstructure, maybe knock out a gun. The Vladdy does have pretty weak guns usually, so unfortunately we don't manage to knock out a gun, but we get 4,000 damage off of him. We're not on fire, so we go ahead, we use that damage con to keep us from burning. This Hipper is deciding to push forward again, just absolutely begging for it. But we can't take the shot at the Hipper because Vladdy has decided to open up the angle, so we're going to go ahead and finish this man off. He's lost all of his hit points, and, you know, being broadside, he's not going to be able to swing back out in time, and we get the Citadel kill on him. 127,000 damage, 5 Citadels so far, 3 kills. Georgia, we're looking at, can't quite lob the island, we know that. The Hipper has set us on fire again because, once again, he's gotta set us on fire. That's just the way it is. But this time, he doesn't have anybody to spot for him, so he can't just stay back there. He's got to close the distance and try to spot me. We're looking, measuring up to Georgia. We can't shoot him. Alaska manages to finish him off, which is nice. And so, with that, we're going to go ahead and continue to push forward. Hipper is now pushing forward. We take the shot right as he pops in and out of existence because, you know, that was another thing that was supposedly fixed like a year and a half ago, but has never been fixed. But it doesn't matter, we managed to hit him anyway, and down he goes. Leaving us on 4 kills and 135,000 damage and a chance for a Kraken. Are we going to be able to pull it off? Bismarck still has a decent chunk of health, and he's kind of backing around the island from us, unfortunately. But we're going full steam ahead, trying to see if we can't catch this guy. Maybe get a superstructure kill on him. Because once again, Bismarck, same issue that the Iowa has a lot of hit points allocated to that superstructure. So if he takes some hits being broadside, there's a good chance that I could finish him off with a superstructure hit. We know he's bow tanking us, so that's all we have is the superstructure to shoot at. And his superstructure is open for business. So we get ready, we aim the shot, we get ready to fire, and just as we fire the guns, he gets smashed by the Iowa on the other side of the cap. Unfortunate, denied a Kraken, but it's okay. At the end of the day, we had a solid game, 135,000 damage, we got a Fireproof, Dreadnought, High Cow, First Blood, all the thing. Or no, it was Fireproof, Dreadnought, Dev Strike, and a First Blood. So top of the leaderboard, not too bad. If you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.